Well, next on the agenda, we have car batteries. There's a couple things you need to know about car batteries. We're going to go over them here today. One of the most important aspects is the cold cranking amps. Cold cranking amps is important when you're living in western Pennsylvania because it gets cold in the winter and the batteries will tend to lose charge as the temperature decreases. So if you start noticing the car is cranking slower and slower and slower as it gets colder and colder and colder, you might need to hook your battery to a machine and check it. We're not doing that here today because we're talking about basic maintenance, but you will learn about that in a future lesson. Information about your car's battery is located on the top of the battery, mostly on a sticker. Information such as your cold cranking amps rating, the regular cranking amps, the battery size, the serial number, and the part number for, in this case, Napa. Also, there's some warnings. Danger, poison. Tells you what to do if you get it in your eyes. Wash your hands. It can cause severe burns from the acid. Be really careful around sparks, flames, and smoking because the gases that are inside of a battery are explosive. Alright, so these are dangerous to work with. Now I gotta wash my hand. Batteries connect to vehicles in different ways. In this case, this is a top post battery. This is a side post battery. Sometimes they come with a top and a side post on it, and it makes it a universal battery. They come in different sizes too, physically. That's a small battery, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. It depends what size engine you're trying to turn. Can you imagine how big the battery is in a semi-truck? As far as vehicle maintenance goes, there's different things you need to do to a battery to keep it healthy and happy. One of those things is cleaning the battery. As you can see by the screen here, a simple Google search brought up all these different tools. And in some cases, chemicals. The chemicals are nice, but did you know that simple baking soda and water will clean a battery? Here in our shop, we have all sorts of different tools to deal with working with batteries. We got a battery cleaner that looks like that. We got a battery cleaner that looks like this. We have various different brushes and different types of things for the different types of batteries. This is for the side post. This is for the top post. This is also for the top post. We're going to take you over here to the truck and we're going to show you how to service a battery. Alright, so anytime you service a battery or disconnect a battery, you want to make sure you do a couple things. One is, if you're working on a customer's vehicle, go into the vehicle, write down the factory presets on their stereo. They get kind of angry if you don't reset them after you're done. Because what we're going to do is, we're disconnecting the battery, and that will cause them all to go back to factory default. First thing we're going to do, always disconnect your negative before your positive. The reason why is, on certain newer vehicles that have a computer, it will cause your computer to have some issues. So I got my tools out. This is a top post. Make sure you use the proper type. Also, while you're taking these off, another reason why you want to take your negative off first is because your negative is connected to the body of the car. There'll be no sparks. If I was to actually take this wrench and try to take this positive off, and if there's a place where this wrench can touch the body of the car, it can cause an explosion from the gases. Also, it would definitely cause sparks. So I'm trying to take this off. It's extremely tight. But we got tools to help with that. Sometimes the flat blade of a screwdriver placed in the crack will give you a little bit of wiggle room to wiggle this apart, and then carefully wiggle that off. You don't want to pry this. Never pry. If you pry it, most of the time what happens is you'll either crack the plastic or you'll separate the electrode from inside the battery. Instead, they make these tools that are made specifically for pulling these terminals off. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this onto the battery terminal, make sure it has a good bite, which it does, and then I just turn this. This effectively should pull the terminal off without damaging the battery. to reposition it just a little bit. And we're off. Pretty slick, right? Reverse this off of here. And now for the negative. Now, it's important. Here's a safety tip for you. True story. A friend of mine had a wedding ring on his finger, and he was working with a battery like this. And he accidentally dropped the wrench, and it landed between the two posts. And when it did, he went to grab it, and this got sparked and got hot and arced, and he had his ring on, and he went to grab the wrench to pick the wrench up off of the terminal, and his ring got hot. It actually fused to his finger. He had to have it cut off by the surgeon. Another reason why you shouldn't wear jewelry while you're working on cars. Alright, so I'm going to take my puller, same thing, clip it onto my battery. And it's going to pull right off. Okay, so now we got these off, we're going to clean both pieces. Alright, the first one I'm going to demonstrate looks like this. Usually comes like plastic or metal. Has a brush in the inside. Has a brush on the inside of that. You take this guy, stick it inside this hole, give her a twist. Twist her a few times, pull it back out, and it should be clean. Get the camera to pick it up. And then you take this guy, put your cap back on, push her down and twist it at the same time. Pull back off, and it cleans that. The other one I got looks like this. Same type of thing. You stick it in the hole, you give her a few turns. Cleans the inside. You figure out which side you need. There's two different sizes, a big and a small. This is the positive, which tends to be bigger. So I want to take this and I want to kind of force it down on there. This one has a cutting blade. You just go around it once or twice, and it cleans it off. This also has a little brush on it where you can clean the tops. You can also clean off your terminals on the outside. If there's anything growing on there, most of the time it's white or green. Any of that stuff that's growing on there, that's corrosion. You don't want that. If it gets too bad, you can change them. Replacements come as just a terminal. You just bolt on. You cut the old one off right there, and you bolt the new one onto it, where this one used to be. Or if it's so bad that when you cut this off, you find out there's green stuff growing down the wire, you sometimes have to replace the whole cable. These all come in different sizes, different lengths. Either this one here is a side post. They also come with a top post on them. For the most part, the parts store can look it up and find out which length you need for your vehicle. Sometimes the newer vehicles are special. They have like certain wires that come off of them, and you have to buy the one just for the vehicle. But for the most part, they do sell these universal ones. Now that we've cleaned all of our terminals, it's time to reverse the procedure to put it all back together. Sometimes in some of those chemical cleaning kits that you can get, they give you these little foam pads that you can stick underneath of these, and they're supposed to prevent the growth of corrosion. In this case, they don't have those pads, but they're really easy to find at any auto parts store for like a couple bucks. We got these special tools here just in case we need them. Their purpose in life is to spread these terminals out. You put them in there and spread it. These also have on the end of it these little barbs that you can also use to clean your battery terminals with. Okay. So when we put this back together, we're going to reverse the procedure. We're going to put the positive on first, tighten it up. Make sure it's down as far as possible. And then keep in mind, these bolts don't have to be super tight. If you over tighten a battery terminal, they're only made out of lead. They can snap and then you'll have to put a new terminal on it. So you just want snug, check it back and forth, make sure it doesn't move. We're just about done. At this point, you should probably install some kind of a chemical on your battery terminal area to keep the air off of it, because actually what happens, what forms the corrosion, is all those gases that are escaping, they kind of latch onto the metal. There's like a whole reaction going on inside of this with a lot of free electrons, and they want to find a home. And it just seems to be that they like to attach themselves to the lead on these terminals. If you block that with the chemical, most of the time you have no issues with corrosion from there on in. Every vehicle I own, I usually treat. But since I'm changing this battery in this vehicle because it's bad right now, I'm not going to do that. Another matter of great importance is to make sure your car has a really good battery hold down system. One is manufacturer specific for that vehicle. This is unacceptable. Bungee cords, wires, and other devices that are not designed specifically as battery hold downs do not pass state inspection. Also, if this battery would happen to flip over while you're driving or flip this way, that can cause these two terminals to short out and cause an explosion, a fire, or worse. Some other aspects of battery maintenance includes checking your fluid levels. This is a sealed battery. You can't really check anything on it. It's meant to be replaced with another battery if it goes bad, and there's no maintenance. Other batteries like this have holes that you can open up and take a look inside to see the fluid. Batteries contain sulfuric acid. If you do happen to be dealing with a battery, you always want to make sure you have gloves on your hands that are acid resistant, and you always want to make sure you wash your hands really well afterwards. Different tools we use to check the batteries on the inside are battery hydrometer or a refractometer. This one here, you take a sample of the acid from the battery using your little Piper thing, and you put it on top of the glass inside there, and you look inside the hole, and you'll be able to tell by the spectrum in there whether it's good with the acid or not. This one here, it has a little gauge scale on it, and as you can see, there's different colors. Depending on what you read on there, you might have to either add acid or just add distilled water to the battery. And it works pretty much like this. You put the tube down inside the hole, give the bulb a squeeze like a turkey baster, pull this up, tap it a few times, and as you can see on that scale there, get you all zoomed in here, that battery needs more acid. You also want to make sure you reinstall all your caps and that they're snug. And since this is a 12-volt battery, there's actually 2 volts for each cell. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells in this battery. 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts equals 12 volts. But what I just did with this one cell, you have to do with all the cells to check them. This is pretty much a thing of the past. Almost all the batteries you're ever going to see from here on is going to be the sealed type. That guy. And the last thing I want to talk about battery service is changing the battery. If you do have to change the battery, you'll just use the procedure I used to clean the battery terminals and taking the battery terminals off. Remove the mount, whichever it may be. It may be 2 top posts that look like butterflies. It might just be 1 bolt that holds a clamp down here. and then remove the battery. Now keep in mind that used batteries mostly will have some kind of a film around them of like either acid vapor or some other corrosive material. You don't want to handle them with your bare hands. If you do, you're going to have to make sure you wash your hands immediately after touching it. Most batteries come with a carry-all handle like this, or you can buy these. This is a carrier strap type. You put it on the terminals like this. You can get it on there. And you carry your battery like this. That way you don't have to touch the battery. Also, this has these little things here that screw into the side posts, so you can just carry it like that too. Always, always, always wash your hands immediately after touching the batteries, not just for the acid, but you're also playing with lead. It's also noteworthy that all vehicles have batteries under the hood. Sometimes they're hidden. This one's hidden in the trunk. Sometimes they're under a wheel well. Also worth noting, this is only for a 12-volt battery that actually starts the engine, runs the engine. Do not attempt to service a hybrid battery. Now that you know what to look for, find the vehicle, open the hood, take a look at that battery. Do those terminals need cleaned? If they do, and you have the stuff around to do it, go ahead and clean them. If not, just make a recommendation to me on your worksheet.